Hello, and welcome to Apex Instant Tips, episode number 166. We are your hosts. I'm Anton.
And I'm Marwa. Hi, Anton.
Hi, great to see you again, Marwa. So today's tip will be perhaps long and fast. There's a lot to talk about, and I don't have anything extra, so people can be in just for 5 minutes, maybe. We'll see how quickly we can get through today's tip. Today's tip is about an error that I see creeping up more and more, and I get more and more questions about how to troubleshoot it. So this tip is really more of a troubleshooting method than it is a specific tip. But let's jump right in. We'll share my screen, and Marwa, I'm going to show you this error, and we'll talk a little bit about it. So I've been seeing this error come up from time to time, and there it is. So this is an error, this syntax error. As everybody knows, my favorite way for investigating an error is to come to the session detail and turn on tracing here. And that way I can do it without having to turn it on the whole page. I can turn it on and off just for a dynamic action, that kind of thing. So if I do this and I get my error right there, and I go click here, I can see the error, and it's clear that the error is because I've got this, I'm raising an exception's happening, and what's happening is the error is pretty good. It's descriptive. It's telling me that my dynamic action is expecting JSON coming back, but it's not getting JSON. It's getting something else.
Right. Yes. And you can see that in your monitor activity.
Yeah, I can see it right here. Yep. No problem. So that's the quick, easy tip. You're supposed to be sending back JSON, and you're not. That's the tip, and that's what I see happening a lot. You have any thoughts on? So you can see right here. This is expecting JSON coming back, and you could solve this, by the way, by putting on an error handler here. But you could also just make sure that when you do this, when you raise your application error, you actually handle that error and you return a message back that is JSON.
Exactly.
Yeah. So what do you got for me?
Well, I think sometimes we get that error, but we cannot see it in the monitor activity. So in the monitor activity page. So we don't have any message in the debug messages about it, and that's when troubleshooting gets really difficult.
You're exactly right. I ran into that exact kind of thing recently where I had an error like that. I came to the monitor activity. I didn't see anything in here at all. I'll show you. I actually took some screenshots. So right here, it was in the Apex builder itself. I was getting this error in the builder, and it's the same kind of thing. It's telling me it's not valid JSON. Right?
So you made changes in the page designer, and then you clicked on the save button, you got this error.
Yes. In fact, in this case, I didn't click on the save button. It was the little pop-up window, but yeah, I got this error like that. I think maybe it was, I can't remember, but yes. So I clicked the save button. Yes, I clicked the save button and I got this error. And I haven't turned on my timer. I'm going to do that right now because we're already way late. So the thing is, I did the same kind of thing. You can trace your Apex builder session too, which I did. I traced my Apex builder session, and I got nothing back at all.
Nothing.
When I went, I traced my Apex builder session. I went here. I changed it to, I clicked go, and I got nothing. It didn't show anything here at all.
It did not. No. And actually, because there is a piece of information that maybe we should share, which is I have a diagram, right? Yes. Yep. So here, when we make a request to the Apex engine, we go through several steps. First, through the firewall, and then the reverse proxy, web server, ports, and finally the Apex database. And what we see in the monitor activity page, the debug messages and all the things that are happening are actually, those things are happening in the Apex database. But we are not seeing what's happening in all the other steps.
So if a request doesn't even make it to the Apex database, you won't see it in your recent page views at all. If something happens before it gets down here, you don't see it at all. So how can we get some insight into that?
Yes, so we can run the page and use, like the browser, use the network inspector to see what's happening. We
I'm
can
going to
get
go,
information there.
here.
Yeah.
I'm going to say inspect network. And there's a preserve log here. I like to turn that on and clear out anything that's currently there. And so now if I click new, you can see this is my AJAX request. That's it right there. And I can actually see that's what I got back. That's, if I click on it, I can see the response and I got that back. Now, in this case, I got that back from Apex. Apex gave me that response, right?
Right.
But in the other case, this one over here, Apex didn't give me this response. What I did was I did exactly what we just said. I looked at the network inspector. I did exactly this, and I looked at this response, and this response was a whole bunch of HTML, which I don't know where this HTML was coming from, but I'm guessing, well, I was pretty sure it wasn't coming from Apex. But the Chrome viewer, the Chrome tools, gives me this little preview. So when I click on preview, I saw this right here. This is what I was getting back.
Right, right. So if you can read a little bit, it says your request has been blocked, etc. So I think this is coming from the firewall. The firewall is stepping in because you wrote something suspicious, and I think it's in the SQL query that you wrote.
So that SQL query right there, that is what triggered it. It's this select A, tick, tick, B. It definitely looks like it could be trying to do some SQL injection, right?
Right.
Of course, Apex is a huge SQL injection engine, right? That's what the Apex builder is. That's all it is. So firewalls are going to have a lot of trouble with letting the Apex builder traffic go through. So this is something I've seen, and it's not only with the builder. I see this sometimes from firewalls as well from other places, but within your own applications. But the key here is that this network inspector is going to give you a lot of information that you might that might be helpful in troubleshooting these kinds of things. When you start, especially when you start seeing things like this, that network inspector becomes just a really helpful tool to see what it is your browser is getting back. Going back to our diagram, we have really good insight into what's going on in the Apex database because we have our tracing. We have a little bit of insight about what's going on right here, but we're not really sure what happens in all of these layers. We can just sort of guess based upon what we get in the network inspector what's happening. Based upon that error, based upon what we get, in this case, it was pretty clear it was the firewall. Sometimes I get messages back and it's pretty clear it's ORDS, and other times it's somewhere in, as Rich is pointing out, Rich Soul, we had a WAF that was blocking something. In one case, it was the WebLogic server was flipping a protocol on something. So I think all of these things become really helpful to use this network inspector, at least as a starting point.
Right.
Yeah. You might need to get your other layers involved. Have you ever had to get, Marwa, have you had to get any of the people involved in any of these things yourself?
Yes. I think yes, once with the client working on a project, and yes, we involved other people from the team to troubleshoot the error.
Right. But it's super helpful if you can tell them what layer it's likely at. And the way you can tell them what layer it's likely at is by using this network inspector, because then you get the message. In this particular case that we're talking about right now, which we've just gone over time, but I actually got this ID right here that I was able to say, hey, I got this ID. What, can you help me out? And the solution in this case was to find a back door. They didn't want to get rid of the firewall, but they gave me a back door around the firewall that I could use to when I was using the builder. So.
Yes, as you said, Anton, this could be a starting point to continue troubleshooting those kind of errors.
All right. Well, I hope that's useful to somebody. we'll make sure we get a blog post out with a little bit about this too, to just make it easier to find and to talk about these errors and what you might see from them. Marwa, that's all I have. You have anything interesting?
Thank you for the tip. It's interesting, really.
All right. Well, I guess that's it for today. People are out super early today. They've only wasted a perfectly good 10 minutes with us. But if you like the videos, do all the things, tell your friends about the show. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.